Apple just signed a multi-year, multi-billion-dollar deal with Google's AI Gemini. But the real story here is not the deal that did happen, it's the deal that didn't happen. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Guys, for context here, Apple does over $400 billion a year in annual revenue and has over 2 billion devices globally active. That's iPhones, iPads, Macs. But what's really important here is not necessarily their hardware supremacy, it's the massive gap that Apple has in their platform. What is that, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Their AI integration is terrible. Siri sucks, Apple AI sucks, everyone knows it. There's a reason why we never talk about it on this channel, because it just doesn't work. And we'll get to that in a moment as well. And I think why this is so important, why this deal is so important, is because the future of hardware is AI integration. We've covered this in a video a couple times. We covered this yesterday, but Meta is going big on AI wearables, specifically smart glasses. Heck, even your refrigerator has AI built into it these days. It can automatically order new milk for you when your milk gets too old. Now, when you start to factor that type of AI intelligence and AI integration into the most powerful device, the smartphone, it becomes a big deal. Think about it, your smartphone has GPS, video, audio, it's all your communications. It's where you get news, it's where you buy things. Heck, my wife is buying stuff while she sits on the toilet. It never ends. Just think about that for just a second. And when you have a device like the iPhone that's in billions of people's hands, hundreds of millions, 2 billion, yeah, over 2 billion. Anyway, when you take an item like an iPhone and you say, hey, here's a device, just so you know, the AI in it's gonna be terrible, people are gonna stop buying it. In fact, people have stopped buying it, but that's a story for another video. So here's what we got here. We've got this huge deal. We've got winners and losers. We'll get to the losers in a moment. But I think what's important here is that over the past several months and in years even, Apple has really made a lot of attempts to update Siri and Apple AI, but it just hasn't panned out. Well, why, you ask? Privacy, organizational structure, and even the initial design and construction of Siri have led to just piss poor results. And the other thing that I think that people don't necessarily talk about, but I think is important, is Apple is a hardware company at heart. That's what they are, they're hardware. And it is so difficult to do multiple things well, especially when you start factoring in how fast AI is evolving. It seems like every week there's a huge announcement on AI. And by the way, if you're subscribed to the channel, you're gonna know about it when it happens, because that's what we cover here. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not. Regardless, I think Apple has been between a rock and a hard place, because they are trying to develop this next generation of hardware. Think about everything from VR goggles to glasses to smartphones to the Apple Watch, earbuds, all these different pieces. What's gonna be next for Apple? Well, it's hard for them to focus on that because they're in this arms race for AI. Now, this again is why this deal for Apple and for Gemini is so huge for both companies, because Apple is now able to focus on that next generation of hardware and not getting caught up in this AI arms race. And this is huge for their margins and for the organizational focus. I mean, just think about it. If you're trying to build out AI systems, you're competing to build out AI data centers, cloud compute, not to mention the competing for some of the top software engineers in the world, which cost, in some cases, hundreds of millions of dollars, which is insane, by the way. The amount that Meta is paying for AI engineers is obscene, hundreds of millions of dollars for these engineers. It's completely insane. So anyway, you're not getting caught up in that entire arms race. And what this allows you to do is evolve Siri and your smartphones into an incredibly powerful AI assistant, not some sort of useless idiot, which is where Siri is at now. And by the way, just from a personal brand standpoint or from a business brand standpoint, huge for Apple, because everybody knows it. You know, it's become kind of like a meme at this point. But as big of a win as this is for Apple, it's an even bigger win for Gemini. And let me lay this down for you. A year ago, we were saying that Google is done, Gemini is not good. You may remember, and we covered this in a video, the woke Gemini images where you said, generate me an image of George Washington, and it was a black man on a boat. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting rendition, but that's not actually historically accurate. So anyway, Gemini kind of went through this crazy sign, because the reality is that AI is only as good as it is factual and truthful and useful. If it starts like race swapping people, it becomes crazy. Anyway, this is not a race swapping video. Like, you want to do Little Mermaid stuff, mazel tov. I don't have a problem with that. But when you start just giving inaccurate representations of historical figures, it gets a little weird. Anyway, regardless, this is a big win for Gemini. Don't get me started on that, because this gives them access to over 1 billion active Apple users. It allows them to build, iterate the model, sell ads, get tons and tons of useful, valuable user data. I mean, another big, I think, talking point over the past 6 months has been, well, Google Ads, I'm in marketing. Google Ads volume is way down. Your customer acquisition costs are up. Your return on ad spend is down. Why? Because more and more people are using AI chatbots to have conversations rather than going to Google search. Heck, even if you do Google search, you're going to get an AI summary from Gemini, which is going to lead you to maybe not necessarily click on the ad, but to review the search results. Big deal. The other thing I think to look at here is that, this kind of shifts Gemini into the next level. It's no longer just a Google chatbot, but it's actually the engine that makes not just the Android phones function, but also Apple devices. And by the way, guys, this becomes almost an antitrust issue, because now Google Gemini has essentially 100% of the smartphone market. You've probably heard these things before, the things that everybody's glued to all the time, the thing that I'm recording on, the thing that you're probably watching on based on the YouTube analytics. And now Google Gemini is powering all the smartphones on Earth, which is pretty crazy to think about. In fact, Elon Musk weighed in on this and said, quote, "This seems like an unreasonable concentration of power for Google, given that they also have Android and Chrome." And I think that he's got a point there. I mean, this is an obscene amount of power. Now, as I started this video off, I want to kind of come full circle, because it's not necessarily about who wins. Gemini and Google Gemini and Apple absolutely are huge winners here, but it's actually even more so about who loses. And the first loser here is Grok. Grok is a loser, but frankly, Grok is still powering Tesla. It's still powering X. So, Grok still has a decent amount of distribution. The real loser here, the big loser here, is OpenAI and ChatGPT, because they just lost the most important customer choke point in big tech, which is the smartphone. They just lost it. It's done. It's cooked. Now, listen, you can still get an app, assuming that you're still going to be able to get ChatGPT, because there could be a point here where Apple says we're not going to put ChatGPT at the top of our apps. You're not going to be able to find it. Google Play Store could do the same thing. Maybe they could do that. Or a game that's also played as well. Maybe you can still find ChatGPT, but it's not recommended. You have to scroll down, or you have to really search for it. Those could be problems too. Anyway, ChatGPT just got crushed. I'm sure Sam Altman is going to be having nightmares over this. And where I think this is also even more interesting, guys, is while ChatGPT is still the leader in the AI chatbot market, it's not looking good. The trends are not good. They actually have about 68% of the consumer market, but it is down big from 1 year ago. They had 87% just a year ago. This is a 19% decrease in market share. And guess who's been taking that market share? Google Gemini has exploded in users over the last 12 months from 5.5% to 18%. My friends, Google Gemini is completely obliterating OpenAI right now. And I gotta say it, I think this deal, assuming that the federal government doesn't step in, there's antitrust suits, I think that this is going to be the death knell for OpenAI and ChatGPT. What do you think? Now, ChatGPT, OpenAI still have some deals with federal government, which makes things interesting. They're giving free access to the Google, to the federal government employees. They're also teamed up with Microsoft and Azure. So there could still be something with OpenAI, but man, this deal is so big, it's kind of hard to understate it. What do you think? Put in the comments below, like I know you like to do. And if you enjoyed this video, you should definitely watch yesterday's video where we talked about a huge move from Meta, where Meta actually fired 10% of their VR staff and closed down 3 of their major VR studios. It's a pretty big shift, but what does that mean for you? Well, you have to watch yesterday's video. Check it out here. All right, boys, I'll see you later. Peace.